Thank you, Cheryl. So we are calling the title of today's sermon, Wonderful Are Your Works and Our Words. As you'll be hearing words from several members of our church family, we're coming together to bring MABC's pride to life with a bit of history, reflection, and personal experience. I will begin by reading an excerpt from Reverend Mike Easterling's memoirs. And in a later service, unfortunately, because Nancy isn't here today, she'll share her thoughts on being a member of MABC during the time when the congregation decided to formalize its position as welcoming and affirming. We will then have Alex D'Souza and Richard Bender from the MABC choir, better known as Bender Sues, take the microphone. And then finally, Matthew Dunlap Keener will conclude our member-led sermon. Please hear the words of Reverend Mike Easterling, MABC's pastor from 1985 to 2006, from his memoir written about his work at the height of the AIDS epidemic. I often received calls from Sarah Goodson, the nurse in charge of the AIDS ward at Bellevue Hospital. One time she told me about a young patient there who she felt needed a visit. She gave me the patient's name, and within a few days, I went to Bellevue to see him. I went to his room and found a young man of about 25 years of age, very weak and showing signs of Kaposi sarcoma. He asked me to call him Sammy, and he was very personable. He told me he was from Indiana and had come to New York looking for a job, but shortly after arriving, started to get sick. When I asked him if his parents knew of his illness, he told me that they had not communicated. They had cut themselves off from him when he told them he was gay. He said he left phone messages for them but had received no return calls. He also said he had written them several letters, but there had been no response. It's an understatement to say how sad he seemed to feel, and as he talked, he began to cry. There wasn't much I could do to comfort him, but at least I was there with him. And while I was there, he placed another call to them and left a message. I offered a prayer, and then I left. I visited Sammy over the next few weeks. He had IVs in both arms and a feeding tube in his stomach. He seemed to be getting weaker. We had good talks, and almost every time I visited, he would place another call to his parents and leave messages for them. He would almost plead with them to call him back. One day, I stopped by his room for another visit. There were no personal belongings in the room, and the bed was well made with clean white sheets. I talked to his nurse, and she told me he had died that night. To my knowledge, he had passed on without ever hearing from his mother and father. In those years, I saw this tragedy repeat itself many, many times. But I also witnessed so many moms and dads giving their unconditional love until their sons and daughters breathe their last breath. This concludes Reverend Easterling's words. We cannot deny the history of AIDS in America in the 1980s and 90s, but we can find a few of the silver linings. And MABC was one of them. Not only through the compassion of Reverend Easterling, but also through this church's action to formally become identified as a welcoming and affirming American Baptist Church. Thank you. Alex and Richard, shall I come forward? Thanks.
So hi, I'm Alexandra D'Souza, for those of you who do not know, alto here in the MABC choir. As of July, I will have been here 15 years of the 175 years of this church. And I'm going to give you 3 reasons why I keep coming back every Sunday. Oh my goodness, I'm still like going to cry over that? Okay.
Weepy up here.
Yeah, a little weepy. The first day I walked in here, I felt it. Now, I had subbed at a couple of other places before, but it was here where I immediately felt the warmth and a real welcome. It wasn't just some wisp of pleasantries at the front door. It was an honest to goodness welcome. Come on in. We're glad to have you here. 2, these people. I know Jenny and Doug are not here right now, but oh my God, have you heard the people I get to sing with every week? I get to do that every week. Thank you. Yes. How can I not want to come back and sing with these people every week? Though I have to say my favorite part is when other people have come in to sub and they have been here before, and maybe some of them haven't met all of us yet, and they are stunned that we laugh and joke around before the service. And they're like, seriously, you can laugh here? And I'm like, yeah. And have you seen Susan's pink plastic magic 8-ball Jesus? And oh, by the way, this prayer response, it sounds like Phantom of the Opera, so just a heads up. So the little things like that make it an extra joy to come every Sunday. And third, people may have come and gone, but there have always been all kinds of people here. Black, brown, yellow, white, single, married, straight, gay. Everybody has been here, and everybody is welcome here. I mean, the first Pride Parade I ever marched in was with this church. Can I say that again? The first Pride Parade I ever marched in, I was representing a church. Not everybody gets to do that. And in these times, particularly in these times, I can't be happier to continue to be part of a church that when you walk in those doors, they don't just talk the talk. It's an honest to goodness walk the walk of welcoming and affirming. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Richard. I'm the tenor here at the MABC choir. Since Alex has already brought this up, I guess it'll be 11 years in September, I think. 11 or 12, one of the two. So I think the longevity of everybody in the choir is a key to how much we love this church and how much we love coming here and doing the work of this church. The first time I met Susan Sparks was at Doug Shapiro's New York City wedding. And he and Sean were holding it in a bar in the Lower East Side, the name of which eludes me at the moment. And that was when I first met Susan, who introduced herself as saying, here's something you don't see every day. A Baptist preacher marrying 2 men in a bar. And she was obviously she was right, but you got to think, why don't you see that more often, right? And that struck me. Susan and I didn't really talk everybody was busy during a wedding, but it wasn't long after that Doug called and said, hey, the tenor spot in the choir where I sing is opened up, and don't you want to see me every week, so you should audition. And yeah, and I didn't put two and two together, obviously, until I got here, and I very thankfully got the job. I think everybody here has worked at least one other church job other than this in our checkered past. I think everybody here has been to a church other than this, very, very different in the past before coming here. I think everybody here has had that experience of a barricade against the world, that a church keeps the world out. That it may, in the name of safety, right? Because the world is a very, very scary place for so many people. It's a scary and often terrible, terrible place. But I don't know if anybody has had this experience, but in churches that are determined to do this, there's fear. That is all there is left. What I love about Madison Avenue Baptist Church is it does this. The doors are always open. The arms are always open. I never understood as a kid the idea that you could go to church and you wouldn't engage with the world. You wouldn't take what you do here and go out. What you would do is say, this is special, and it is separate, and we are separate, and we are special. And we don't share that with anybody. And we only allow a select few in, like it's the guest list at the China Club or something. I never understood that religious elitism. It always struck me wrong as a kid. It stayed with me as I grew to be an adult. So this place is a literal godsend for me, and I know it's a literal godsend for everybody here. Susan, her sermons, and everybody who preaches from here, they take the word and they apply it to the world. And they give us strategies and a way to walk in the world and give what is here to the world. And you can see it in the music program here too. The Beatles and Bob Marley coming up, You don't get that very many places. And, next week it'll be Mozart. And the week after that it'll be, newsflash, Amy Ray of the Indigo Girls. And, this idea that you are part of the world and what happens here is worth giving to the world is what makes Madison Avenue Baptist Church the place I love coming to work. This idea that everybody is welcome and everybody's gifts are needed, and everybody's gifts are needed not only here, but out there. Because we don't do this. We do this, and we do this. And that's why I love this place. Thank you so much.
So in honor of Joe, I just have to open this up with, hey girl, hey. Okay. So when I first got the message from Joe asking if I was, by the way, my name's Matt. That's my husband, that's my baby. He's gonna probably speak during this. There he goes. When I first got the message from Joe asking if I'd be willing to speak at today's service, I was sitting on the bus on my way into the city to work. My immediate thought was, I am way too busy for this. I am busier than a one-armed paper hanger. But being a good Southern Baptist, I thought, give it some time, think on it. Well, time went by, and it was my birthday weekend / Mother's Day weekend. See, in our house, a house of 2 dads, we split the parent holidays. And because my birthday is in May, I take Mother's Day, Rodney takes Father's Day. The brunch options are limited, but the flowers are much better. In any event, I was sitting outside on my deck, looking at my flowers, watching Elijah play in the yard with his trucks. I have learned more about trucks and excavators and skid steers and all that in the past 2.5 years than you would ever want to know. Thinking, dear Lord, please just let me be one day covered in grandchildren saying things like, no, and stop that. Living my best New Jersey housewife self. When I thought, I can do anything. So I texted Joe back, yes. He immediately called me and told me I need 3 minutes from you. Like the overconfident University of Tennessee fan that I am, I said, I'll give you 10. Now, this is strange because I have a confession to make. I hate public speaking. I'm literally shaking right now. I hate it to the degree that when I was a sophomore at the University of Tennessee studying business, go Vols, and saw public speaking coming up on my syllabus, I didn't just change majors. I didn't just change schools. I ran to a different state to study and major in dance, where I would never have to open my mouth and I would only have to use my body and my eyes to communicate. Yes, honey, I received a full scholarship for being able to do this. Powerful, right? It wasn't until the next morning when I was applying my 3rd facial serum, because, honey, time marches on and eventually you realize it's marching across your face, that my hands started to slow in their circular motions, always going up, and I realized why I had agreed to. 10 minutes, speaking in front of people at church for Pride Month. Lord, give us strength. Joe informed me that I was meant to share a story about my journey at Madison Avenue Baptist Church. Well, being the concise and succinct person that I am, I could do that really quick. And I won't lie to y'all, I don't know every verse in the Bible front to back or back to front. So our good friend panic set in. I began to wonder, how am I going to do this? I asked for advice from Reverend Susan Sparks and was met with, remember, your son will see this someday. No pressure, great. So what do I know? What do I know that I am an indisputable authority on? Well, in 1989, a movie came out starring Sally Field, Shirley MacLaine, Olympia Dukakis, Daryl Hannah, Julia Roberts, and the one and only Dolly Parton. That movie was Steel Magnolias. Now, anybody that knows me knows that I can go on and quote Steel Magnolias for any reason at any time of the day at the drop of a hat. I love it so much that the minute I start playing it, my husband hears the music and opening credits and he flees the room. Because as he says, well, Daddy's gonna cry now. And it's true. I know every scene, every line in that movie, and yet somehow it will always not just cry, but sob at key points in the movie. I did some math. I started watching Steel Magnolias regularly around 2006. At that time, Rodney and I had just moved to New York City, and I was missing my mama and daddy and home so badly I could taste it. By the way, I'm from Tennessee. I don't know if you got that. My heart felt lonely in this big city, and I just needed somebody to talk to me in that southern accent that my family carries. That comfort became the Magnolias of Still Magnolias. But if we're going to count, let's say that I watched it once a week, at a minimum, 52 weeks in a year, 2006 to 2023, and that's being modest. I have seen Still Magnolias 840 times. Not kidding. Ask him. To say it's my favorite movie would be an understatement. To say I'm an authority on it would be an absolute. In fact, I've already snuck in 4 quotes at this point, in case you haven't noticed. But how does that bring us to today? And how does that relate to my MABC journey? I already told you that when we moved to New York, I was missing my family, and being the good boyfriend he was at the time, my now husband, Rodney, saw that. Oh God, here we go. See, Rodney grew up Mennonite. For those of you who don't know what Mennonite is, we can either call it Amish Light or Serious Baptist. Either way, being the person that he is, the Clary to my Weezer, Rodney saw my pain and saw that something was missing. He did some research and found Madison Avenue Baptist Church in 2008. On Easter Sunday that year, he dragged me, kicking and screaming, in the most horrible pair of pants, me, not him, looked like two pigs fighting under a blanket, into this sanctuary, into that pew right there. It was like time stopped. There was no noise, no tremble, just peace. Something clicked into place, just like one of Elijah's train tracks. It fit. See, my husband left his Mennonite upbringing and became a Baptist for me. Because for some reason, he wanted me to have 3 minutes of wonderful instead of a lifetime of nothing special. To be quite frank with you, after my childhood church experience, like so many, I was content to say I was a Christian, but not show up. Not put my rear end in a pew, not sing a hymn. Let's just say all amen to that changing. Let's fast forward a little bit. We came to love Madison Avenue Baptist Church and decided to make it home. So much so that we were married right here, right behind me, in December of 2013. This house was the first place that I saw my husband cry while giving his vows to me. I thought that would be the biggest thing that happened while we were here, but I was so wrong. In 2017, we started the process of adoption, put out all the papers, did the interviews multiple times, did the trainings on how to be a parent multiple times, but nothing happened, and we began to worry. In truth, one of us began to lose faith, me. 3 years passed. I became not as sweet as I used to be. To be fair, I became Weezer Boudreaux. Rodney, do you want to go see a show? I don't see plays because I can nap at home for free, and I don't see movies because they're nothing but trash and they got nothing but naked people in them. And I don't read books because if they're any good, they're going to make them into a mini-series. Okay, Matt, what are these tomatoes for? Because I'm an old Southern woman and we're supposed to wear funny-looking hats and ugly clothes and grow things in the dirt. I don't know why. I don't make the rules. See, I had forgotten the message in our scripture today. You have searched me, Lord, and you know me. You know when I sit and when I rise. You perceive my thoughts from afar. For you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am wonderfully and musically made. Your words are wonderful. I know that full well. My frame is not hidden from you when I was made in the secret place. Then, in November 2020, that mysterious little creature drifted into my life. In the process of a week, we went from painting our new house to welcoming Elijah James Dunlap Keener. Hi, buddy. He's watching his trains, he could care less. Into our lives. Now, for most folks, you have your baby, you leave the hospital, you go home. Not us. Because of laws surrounding adoption, and that it was Thanksgiving week, and that it was 2020, we had to stay in New York. Do you want to guess who gave us a home for 18 days? In her living room, the one and only Jackie Friedman. I'd like to say that we became parents on our own, but we learned how to be dads and mothers at the same time from Jackie. 2 weeks after his birth, we came into this very sanctuary, FaceTime our families, and blessed our son right there under this pulpit with Susan. I have a video of it if you want to see it. It was the most precious moment of my life. And here we are today, waiting on our second, third, fourth child. Listen, I either want my own soccer team or I want a whole pew. These are my goals. Thank you. Tell him. But where's the lesson? Listen, it's Pride Month. And back in 2008, I did not feel pride of who I was. But honey, let me tell you, I may not have hair anymore, and I may be 20 pounds heavier than I was in 2013 standing up here. But I've got pride. I am proud to have been a member of this church for 15 years. I am proud to be able to call this place home. I am proud that so many pieces of my core memories are housed right here in these walls with these people. I am proud of my family. I'm proud of Elijah James Dunlap Keener, and I am proud to be his daddy Matt. But most of all, I'm proud of you, Rodney. These walls, these people, the words we share in here are lessons and tributes into how amazing I think you really are. I am continually in awe and inspired by you. I can't wrap this up without a few more quotes from Still Magnolia, so here's a little something I put together to send you on your way. My colors are blush and bashful, but I find it amusing. We're supposed to be made out of steel or something. Well, laughter through tears is my favorite emotion. If you don't have anything nice to say about anybody, come sit by me and Aunt Nancy and Jackie. Remember, the only thing that separates us from the animals is our ability to accessorize. And when you're at the end of your rope, we'll buy t-shirts that say, I slapped Louisa Boudreaux. Remember to smile, because it'll increase your facial value. And 3 minutes of wonderful is better than a lifetime of nothing special. In this church, there will always be a home for anyone looking for it. We are celebrating 30 years of being a welcoming and affirming family and a body of Christ. My family has found it for 15 years. And if you're looking for somewhere to go or somewhere to be or somewhere that you just want to be yourself, remember what Dolly Parton once said. Go, find out who you are, and do it on purpose. And in nothing else, remember, Shelby, drink the juice. And the people said,